So pain is something we all face, but it wears different masks. For some of us, pain looks physical, the sore knees after a long run, the backache after years of grinding. For others, it's emotional, the heartbreak, the disappointment, the feeling of rejection. And then there's mental pain, the stress of responsibility, the weight of uncertainty, the exhaustion of holding it all together. The question is whether pain will come. The question isn't whether pain will come, it will. The real question is, should you push through it? Can you push through it? And more importantly, why? Let's start with should you. Sometimes pain is a warning sign. If you're running and your body says, hey, something's not right, ignoring it can lead to long-term damage. In life, there's no in life, that's no different. If you're in a toxic relationship, a draining job, or mindset that's slowly killing your joy, pushing you through blindly may not be the solution. Should you? Maybe not. Sometimes wisdom is knowing when to stop and heal. Now, can you? That's where resilience comes in. Most of us are stronger than we give ourselves credit for. You've already survived some of the hardest days of your life and you're still here. You can you endure more? Often the answer is yes, but endurance requires more than grit. It requires support, strategy, and perspective. You can push through the pain when you've built the mindset and the community to carry you. Finally, the why. Why would anyone willingly push through pain? Because on the other side of pain, there's growth. Ask any athlete who's crossed the finish line, any parent who's worked three jobs to give their kids a better life, any man or woman who healed from heartbreak but chose to love again. Pain can be the price of progress, but that's why, but the why has to be bigger than the pain. If you don't have a clear purpose, the pain will crush you. But if your why is strong enough, it becomes fuel. So maybe the real challenge isn't just deciding whether to push through pain, is to evaluate what the pain is teaching you, to discern a barrier or stepping stone, and to anchor yourself a why that makes the push in a why that makes the push worth it. Because in the end, pain will either define you or refine you. The choice is yours. All right, brother. With that being said, first thing you like that one?
That was good. I like that.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Um, with that being said, the first definition of the night is going to be pain. I kind of went over it a little bit right there, but pain just kind of set the tone for us in the audience is a sign from your body or mind that something requires attention. And then I broke that down into two other categories. So you have productive pain, which is discomfort that leads to growth or development. And then you have destructive pain that causes injury, trauma, or regression. So, the first question of the night is this: is pain necessary for growth? And if so, can it eventually lead to self sabotage?
And that's why I will go back and address the first definition for pain. Because, in my humble opinion, I don't think it's just a signal from the body or mind that something requires attention. It is a signal from the body or mind that something has changed or is changing.
Mm.
And when you look at that, that incorporates whether it requires attention or not. Some pain that we go through, we need to sit in it so we can grow through it. So
Mm.
when you ask that first question, is pain necessary for growth? It's a different type of pain. But yes, it's called the pain of getting out of your comfort zone. Right. So
Mm.
when you look at growing outside of your comfort zone, it's uncomfortable. It can feel, you'll go through a number of different variations of some type of pain. But really, that pain is you getting over the version of yourself that wants you to stay in that comfort zone, that keep wanting you to go back. Can it eventually lead to self sabotage? I believe that self sabotage is when you pull yourself out of a growth track.
That last part, elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Because,
You
ooh,
are not created to anything that lives. Let me say it like this. If it lives, it is supposed to grow. It is supposed to
hmm
flourish. It's supposed to thrive in its environment. Part of that flourishing and thriving in the environment incorporates growing, whether it's growing from the perspective of getting taller, getting wider, or getting thicker. All of that is the same. And I'm talking more so specifically out in the environment now, plants and things of that nature. But if you think about it, so there's mammals, so there's animals, so there's humans, all of that. That's how we can look at a person and conclude their approximate age because of their growth. When you look at a teenager is might be tall, but their arms might be, unless they unless they play sports and they get in the
Mhm.
gym, they still have a little immaturity about them. But as they get older, they tend to full out and thicken out. And so when you look at this right here, you are a progressively growing and evolving being, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally. If you do it intentionally, it happens at a much rapid rate. If you do it unintentionally, the environment is forcing you to do so. So now, what does self sabotage mean in this particular notion? Self sabotage is when I go against the natural or supernatural order of progression. So when I intentionally go against that, that is self sabotage.
Mm. I like it. I like it. I definitely think that a certain amount of pain is necessarily for growth as well. You know, um I remember, and this is just the physical part of it, and I will go back to, I remember my youngest son, who is 20 now. He's the tallest. He's 6'2". I'm 5'7" ish on a good day. So
He stole,
5'6".
he stole your
Sometimes,
jeans, bro. That's all it is. He stole your
yeah.
jeans.
And he got all the rest of everything that was left over. So um it's like, I remember when he was like middle school, 11, 12 or something, and he had started growing really fast, and he had a lot of pain in his knees and his joints and stuff like that. He had those growth pains. That's what we kind of called them. I mean, he got them growing pains. And he would be tired, and hurting and stuff. And I didn't really experience that. One of the other ones kind of a little bit, but kind of blew it off. But when he came around, it was a little bit more, and I kind of did a little bit more research. But that growth was necessary for him to get to 6'2". And it seems like everybody who reaches that height, anybody I've talked to, we talked about at some point, around that time of puberty or growth, how they had those growing pains and how their joints and different things like that hurt. And the same thing with the mental part and all of that thing. Sometimes growing is pain. Sometimes when we get rid of those relationships and stuff like that, sometimes those pain initially, it don't feel good to get rid of that friend that you've had for a long time, but that friend may be sabotaging your relationship and what you got going on currently. So sometimes that's growth, and sometimes that pain comes along with that. But I think all of those things are necessarily, like the question said, for the growth. I think it's just something that you have to have. You can't get around it.
Yeah, nor, and I can only speak for me. Nor do I
Mhm.
want to get around it. Right. I need to be aware when I need to be aware when I need to be aware of when pain is available,
Yes.
whether it is intentional based upon something I did, or unintentional based upon something I can't see and I am missing. Therefore, now I am being forced into this thing of awareness, right? Into this new growth track. And I think that is something that we all need to understand. Again, I believe wholeheartedly that once we become intentional about a thing, we then become destructive about it. There is a degree of destruction that comes along with it, right? After intentionality follows destruction. That's just what it is. So when you become intentional about doing something, something will be destroyed in order for that something to exist or prevail or whatever the case may be. And when you look at growth in some shape, form, or fashion, you'll see it happen all the time. For a baby to be born, the embryo must be not the embryo, the I can't call it the placenta. There we go. For a baby to be born, the placenta must be destroyed, right? And so even when you start looking at lifting weights, when you're lifting weights, they have this thing like right around your joints called fascia. Well, depending upon how much weights you lift and how much muscle mass you're putting on, you start to feel pain right in them joints. Well, that's your muscle fibers expanding to such a degree that it's tearing the fascia. So it's like all of that exists. It doesn't matter which direction you want to go with it. As soon as you become intentional about something, something will be destroyed.
Pain is I'm thankful for pain, even physical pain, right? I know people who have been in wheelchairs, people who have disabilities, they can't necessarily feel pain. You know, pain is a trigger. Pain is a sign, like that there's something's there. It's an alert. When my stomach hurts, right? I'm like, and I'm in pain. I can look back. Why is my stomach hurting? What did I eat? Where did I eat? Was it something that I wasn't supposed to eat? All of these different things. It is a sign that something may be off. So I think there was something else that I wanted to add to the conversation as well. And I know coach is out, but what I'm gonna do is I am going to move down and get this question because this question is for the chat and the panel as well, right? And that is that what is a pain that you're glad you didn't avoid? So if you're in the chat, if you're in the audience, type in right now what's a pain or something like that that you've been through in the past that you're glad that you didn't avoid. So what say you, coach?
It's going to sound funny.
Uh-oh.
People aren't going to like it because of who they know I am and what I'm about to say. But the pain of divorce, I hate to say it that way.
Mhm.
Um, and it's only because of some things that I recognize that was taking place in that particular point in time, in that relationship, so forth and so on. It's not so much as about the imperfections of the beings, it was the incongruency of the belief system of the beings. And that once I recognized that, even though I was trying to like make amends, trying to like believe it would eventually line up. Truth of the matter was is that it wasn't going to line up. It was never going to line up because in the beginning it wasn't aligned to start off with. And so when I started realizing some things, I would go and talk and have these conversations and so forth and so on because this is the direction that in my mind this is the direction that we're supposed to be going. And it was like, fighting, like literally fighting. So at that point in time, I just had to make a decision that worked best. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this didn't work, so I didn't know. I did not do it that way. I did it the way that most men who are frustrated do it. We go out there and we destroy some stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
literally, I'm not joking when I say it that
Mhm.
way. And whatever you can imagine, based upon what I just said, then 9 times out of 10, it might be true. The only
Mhm.
thing I would add is I never tore up anything that we physically bought in the house. I say it that way, right?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I became very destructive in that notion, and I did not really care what anybody thought about it in that particular notion. So why am I saying that it was a pain that I'm glad I went through? Because I learned a lot about myself during that particular time. I learned a lot about relationship during that particular point in time, and it made me sit still and research and study and have a better understanding of what relationship is supposed to be, regardless of what you see out there, regardless of what you see on TV, regardless of what your uncle, daddy, sister, brother, cousin is doing. Like all of that sounds really good for them, but that does not necessarily mean that they're doing it right, especially if they were married for 50 years. Like that is one of the biggest misconceptions that we have. We believe that tenure equates to rightness, and it does not. Tenure can also equate to coping. In which, if you understand what you do when you cope, you recognize something exists, you just decide that it is what it is, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. And then, so that's how it's going to be. So, again, I got it. Like I said, it's not going to be a popular response, and a lot of people may not agree with it, but that's fine. I didn't say it for them to agree. I just said it for you to consider because that's where I would say a large pain for me existed, and I'm really glad I didn't avoid it because it allows me to teach my kids lessons that I was never taught. So I say it that way.
I definitely co-sign you on this. I definitely, as a man who have been divorced and has moved on to another relationship, I definitely can see this. You know what I mean? There was a lot of pain, you know what I mean, going through a divorce, everything that comes before that, always that everything for the years that led up to it, why you going through it, some of the after effects, and some of the thing about is that there are always going to be lasting effects for the rest of your life once that thing happens. You know what I mean? Me and my ex-wife, we live in two different states, and then I'm moving to Texas. So, and now my sons are in three different states. So, at some point, whenever they want to come in and see everybody, my kids will never be able to come to a house and bring their kids to grandma and granddaddy's house. You know what I mean? That stereotypical, not even stereotypical, but that, where you come home to your biological grandparents. My kids would never be able to experience doing different things like that. So
Yeah.
I definitely understand what you're saying. I definitely co-sign everything that you said. You made a lot of good points, and pulling the lessons out of that divorce is very valuable, a very valuable thing that we can pass on to our kids. Um, I'm going to just go to the other side of that. Me and Shell been together for 11 years. There's been a lot of pain that went through, especially, some of those earlier years while we were trying to understand and learn each other, from her side or from my side, some conversations, some thises and some that's, and all of the above, in relationships and you in them ebbs and flows. A lot of times initially while y'all still trying to figure things out and y'all hadn't really been specific about the direction of y'all relationships, there's some pain in there sometimes, on both sides. So that to me is, I'm kind of bringing it back on the other side of that, is that I'm glad that I went through some of that pain and stuck through some of those things that, her and I went through in our relationship, or anybody in a relationship, I mean, to make it to 11 years. In most cases, there's some downs, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and just part of it. But I am definitely glad that stuck it out and stayed through some of the pain and different things like that, um, to get to where we are right now. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
yeah, man. You ready for a rapid fire?
Come on
Rapid
with it.
fire. You see, man, the Southern King. All right.
YAH.
Yeah. Oh, I put it up there. Okay, so I looked at my notes. I didn't put all of them up there.
It's all
All
good.
right. So what's that?
It's all good.
All right. So here we go. What's easier to push through, mental or physical pain?
Physical pain.
Mm, I want to come back to that one.
Sure.
Definitely want to come back to that one. Cry or compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize.
Lift heavy or lift light?
My age lift light.
Share or shut down?
Share.
Short pain or long suffering?
Long suffering.
Ice bath or hot bath?
Hot bath.
Personal pain or public pain?
Personal pain.
Coach or therapist?
Coach.
Man, I was listening. That was good, man. Good job. I was listening to somebody today, and they were talking, and I was like, they were like some mind person. I'm just like, man, I'm saying all day long. I'm like, man, this person need a coach. He don't need you. He need a coach.
Yeah.
It was very clear, and I was like, man, this guy's making probably millions of dollars, and I'm like, man, he should 100% be coaching. The person he would need to be coached, not trained.
Yeah.
But that's just my own personal opinion. All right, so I want to go back to this one right here. So with this one, you said physical pain.
Hmm.
Has this always been the case?
You're asking me, have I always thought that way?
Mhm.
No, I haven't always thought that
Mm.
way. Um, but what I've learned is that Even when I look at physical pain, whether it's something that, again, whether it was something that was intentional by me or something that was, by virtue of nature, sure, that physical pain can be lasting. It can be, never ending, to be honest with you. But you still have your mental capacity. And your mental capacity can look at this physical pain and still recognize that there's joy that lays before you. If I am mentally struggling in the presence of physical pain, then all I'm thinking about is how bad the physical pain hurt. However, if I'm mentally healthy in the midst of physical pain, I still have that physical pain. I just don't focus on it.
Hmm.
Change the dynamics. If I am dealing with mental pain, and I'm not saying dealing with mental pain from the perspective of just a season, I'm talking about dealing with a mental pain that's very difficult to push through. Let's look at, like, losing a loved one is probably one of the most difficult things that a person is going to go through.
Hmm.
But let's get personal with it. Losing a child
Mm.
or losing a spouse. That kind of, when we say loved one, we're thinking somebody like cousin or something. Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Losing a child or losing a spouse, that is very difficult to get beyond. Like, sure, you'll go through all of the things that you've done previously to mourn and get over, but it just seems like that's a very lasting thing. That to me is a version of mental pain. But in the midst of that, you can probably sit there and just keep recycling memories, memory after memory, intentionally looking at photo albums, going back and looking at your old wedding video, looking at their birthday videos and things of that nature. Well, that's where the mental pain is overtaking me, and I am recycling over and over and over again and choosing to stay in it. Now, what happens when I recognize something different to where they're no longer with me, but I can appreciate the fact that I had the opportunity to be blessed with them for the amount of time that I was, and appreciate that time that I had, but don't focus on the fact that I no longer have that time, right? I can look at that and say, I'm being just a little selfish right now because I know I miss them, but I understand that whatever they were dealing with, if they were dealing with anything prior to, they're no longer dealing with it. I can recognize to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. I can look at it from that perspective. So now when I change that dynamics, I can mourn the loss of them, get beyond it, and appreciate and celebrate the life of them on the flip side of it. That's why I say mental pain is far tougher to push through than physical pain.
Yeah. See, I was wondering, had was this did this have anything to do with your maturity level, where you're at in your life? But I think what I come to a conclusion based off of what you just said is, I think at some point people would say that it's easier to push through the mental part. But I think that when I was looking at it and how I would do it, I think that what I would be doing was be blocking things out versus dealing with it, shutting it out. And that's why, I mean, if you're shutting it out, then you're not dealing with it. So you're not actually going through or pushing through the mental pain. You know what I
Right.
mean? So definitely appreciate that. 'Cause that just kind of added um a little bit more clarity to what I was thinking. So
And then if I look at it, if I'm shedding it out, what am I really doing? Right.
yeah.
It's like I wish I had it around here. Consider like a tree canopy, right? And I'm talking a fully mature tree canopy, how
Hmm.
beautiful it is at the top. Well, when I compartmentalize a thing and never go back to it, it's like me cutting a section of that tree off
Mm.
because I am intentionally blocking out anything that either looks like it or remind me of it. And then when someone does something or says something to remind me of that thing I placed in that corner, up on that shelf, in that section of the tree I don't want nobody to touch, then I bark at them to such a degree. Like I literally to verbally assault them because I have never taken the time to address this thing that I've set aside. So it's almost like I'm cutting off a section of me for the sake of not choosing to deal with that.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Here's another one that we talked about, and I think this has something to do with where we are in our age right now. Lift heavy or lift like, hey, back in the day, heavy, heavy, heavy. Now, I don't want to touch nothing heavy no more. If it's too heavy, nah. Hey, junior, hey, homeboy, hey, coach, can you help me out with this? Nah.
Let-
Is that
let-
how you was? You was lift heavy?
Not only was I that way, but let me kind of make it make sense. Ego, wisdom.
mm.
That's the difference. This gets you hurt.
mm-hmm.
This creates density. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't create density, but
Mm-hmm.
this creates a more lasting effect. This right here has the ability to make your bones brittle, especially depending upon what you're lifting, because you can get micro tears and things of that nature. See, it's a whole. I can have a whole laundry list long conversation about just those two topics alone.
Mm. I like it, man. I like it. Sometimes we may push too far. So I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go first on this one because I got a story from Korea on this. What's the time you push too far? So R.I.P. Tyler Presley. That was my most favorite soldier in the army. He passed away a couple years ago. All of those things. But when I was in Korea, um, I used to go to the gym, and I was in the ego portion of my life where I was still lifting heavy. I was about 37 years old. This was right before I met Shell. So I was in the gym all the time, had went to Korea. The goal in going to Korea was to be separated for a year. So when I come back, I could get my divorce. Instead of North Carolina, they want you to be separated for a year before you go and file for divorce. So that was my plan. I got there, I was in the gym, I was lifting weights, I was squatting and stuff. I don't know how much I was squatting. I was front squat. I think I was front squatting like 225 or something like that. And he was at work and he was running his mouth talking about, yeah, the reason why Sar Martin can lift all that weight because he ain't going but to but but to ground, right? So I was like, man, I'm gonna show him. Man, I threw on some more weight after that, and I started going butt to ground. Man, next thing you know, man, I mess around and hurt my back, mess around with that joker, man. So I definitely pushed too far because I'm over there listening. I'm 37. He's 20 years old. He's 17 years my junior. And I'm over listening to him about lifting weights and something in the gym when I've been lifting weights longer than he been alive. And I didn't let my ego and listening to what somebody else said pushed me to the point to where I had to mess around and hurt myself. So definitely that's a time, just one of the many times where I definitely pushed too far.
I don't. Did I hurt myself working out? Sure, but I'm trying to think of a time, like from a mental perspective, me pushing too far. Um, yes, it's like sure, I can talk about degrees. I can talk. I don't know. I just keep it simple, man. When when we're deployed, right? When you're deployed, the only thing you do is work out and eat until you go out on mission. And you know, some people know it. They've seen the videos. But I used to leg press 1,100 pounds. Um, yeah, exactly. Stupid. I'm just gonna call it what it really is. That is a very done. Like I said, ego. Well, one day, because if the heavier the weight is, the slower you should come back.
Mm-hmm.
But some people don't look at it that way. And that day, I was amped up off of, pre-workout and rip
C4.
it,
Really?
pre-workout, pre-workout and rip it.
Yeah.
And I pushed, I extended my leg all the way. I unlocked the lever and I let it come all the way back. And I heard a loud snap right here. And it was like, if you don't know your rib cage, you got the bones, but then all of that on the end is cartilage. So it's like the bone, cartilage, the cage, cartilage, and then so what happened is the bone popped out and popped back in.
Mm,
Man, talk about something that was excruciating. I couldn't cough, I couldn't sneeze, I couldn't laugh for like 2, 3 straight days.
mm,
So if you trying to crack a joke, I'll walk away from you, man. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh.
mm.
It was yeah, that was terrible. So I would say that would be an example of pushing too far. Again,
Yeah,
ego.
man.
You do things with your ego.
Ego lifting. But I think, man, we all done been there in the gym, man. Ego lifting. I done seen people do it. I done seen a whole bunch of videos online where people are ego lifting and stuff like that. And I think I ain't necessarily saying there's a time and place for it, but I think sometimes when you young, I ain't gonna say you should do it, but I will say that sometimes you can get something from that. And what I mean by that is that, pushing each other in the gym, ain't necessarily a bad thing. I've been to the gym. Matter of fact, when I was talking about Presley, we used to go to the gym all the time. And it was something that we both like to do. It wasn't a whole bunch of people in the gym it wasn't a whole bunch of people in our unit that used to go to the gym. So, he was one of the few guys that I've been able to have a like workout partner with or buddy with while I was in the military. You have some, then they fall off. Say, hey, yeah, man, let's go to the gym. They hang around for a couple weeks and then they don't want to go no more. So one of the biggest challenges I've always found, just in general, with having workout buddies is the consistency. That's that word. With having a workout body. So I was just like, man, I would do it on my own. So um have you ever regret avoiding pain?
I want to say yeah. Um,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of times when it comes down to like the height of the goal that you set, sometimes we buy into the logic of others and we set goals that we know we can accomplish. It's kind of like, again, like we talked about, kind of like chasing the dopamine fix. Um, and then when you accomplish it, it's like you get that much euphoria. And then it's like, well, if I could have done this, I could have done more. So why did you limit yourself? Like in that regard. And it's not a physical pain. It's more so of I don't want to say mental anguish because I don't think it's that excruciating, but it's also like a disappointment in yourself because you did not continue to push yourself. And so I guess I'm just at that point in my life, like after recognizing that I don't see myself putting those type of limitations on myself again. It's either going to be, you know, when I set a goal for myself, I set it up here. I will let the lessons learned in the midst of not attaining the extreme heights of a goal be more important than than achieving a goal that I set at a very low altitude.
Um, Me, yes. And to be very transparent, I am still in this phase of my life. I'm still on some things that I've kind of regretted avoiding. And this pain is not anything that's physical. It's some, how can I say it? It's more mental. I know that there's going to be a lot of pain that comes through um, writing a book, learning more about photography, learning more about my RC car hobby, all these different things. I have been able to go certain level, but to that mastery level, I have for some reason avoided that pain to take it to the next level, to really be a master at photography, to really be a master at RC carring. Um, I still avoid those things. Maybe I need some coaching. Um, I still avoid those things. Light bulb, light bulb. Um, so yes, I would definitely say that there are some things in my past and there are some things currently in my life that I am avoiding just because I know of the pain that it is going to bring. Now, I say that, but I also understand that certain things that there's a time and a place in the season. And I also understand that sometimes there may be other things that takes a priority. So I also understand that as well. But there are definitely some things in my life right now that I am probably avoiding that I now probably that I am avoiding just because it is I know the pain that's going to come along with it. I know that when I've gotten a lot of I've gotten a certain percentage of a couple of different books already written, but I've stopped because you got to do a whole bunch of research. You know what I mean? Like publish, self-publish, not publish. Do I put it on Amazon? Do I, and then you hear while you were doing your research, you get another piece of information, and then that just opens up a whole new can of information, that a rabbit hole that you got to go down and research, so you don't make sure that you don't get sued, you ain't plagiarism, even though those are your words and you writing them. You know what I mean? You got to do all of these different checks and stuff. And those are some of the pain that I've been avoiding, because I know it's a lot. So again, light bulb. I don't know, man. It's a lot going on in my head about that. So yeah. Here we go, man. We got another section. This one is the would you rather. So this one is only about 5 or 6 questions or so. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. Here we go. Would you rather run a marathon in pain or quit at mile 20?
Well, I gotta wait to 20. It's okay.
Russ said, why I gotta wait to 20?
Yeah, it's the wrong person. This question. I ain't about
Yeah.
to run no marathon, bruh. So listen,
Oh man.
if I feel pain at 2, I'm out. This is a wrap.
Yeah. But here's the deal. The reason why this is significant, because a lot of people in their first marathon, this is the stopping point. The stopping
Yeah,
point is mile 20.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So imagine getting 20 miles and you like, man, you know what? That's it. I didn't got 20 in. It's hard for me to get 20 and not do the other six. If I'm walking, I got to do the other six.
I got you.
Yeah. And I ain't even, well, yeah. Coach said I'm good.
And pick me
Coach
up,
said,
bro.
why I got to go to 20? He's stopping at 2. Say less. Um, talk about your pain or write it down. Would you rather?
I don't see. This is one of those things that I don't know why I need to choose, right? Because if I write it down, I'm really talking about it.
Who you talking about it to?
Whoever I write it down towards. See, when you say, see, when other people see this as write it down, they
Mm-hmm.
may be like put it in your journal or take note. No, I'm talking about putting it
Yeah.
in a book because I want to talk about the lessons learned from my pain so that other people can learn from those lessons. So if I write it down, I'm talking about it in a book for somebody else to read it.
So your write it down is write it down in the book. Not yeah. So mine would be write it down in a journal. And even with this, I would go with talk about my pain. Me personally, that's what I would rather do. I also understand that there is a time and place to write things down, and that may be better, especially if you're just journaling. Then depends on who you are, depends on who your audience is, and all those different things. But yeah, I want to talk about mine that way,
I
because if I'm talking about, I got feedback.
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I give somebody some free chicken. Your journal can just simply be your notes to your book.
Mm, free chicken. There you go. Mm. Would you rather be sore all week or disappointed in yourself?
Um, what am I sore from?
Whatever you sore from.
Right. See,
Could be doing a light workout because you ain't worked out in 2 weeks.
sure, or it could be sore from sitting on the couch all week long. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Oh.
I get that. There's nothing wrong with me being disappointed in myself as long as I learn a lesson from being disappointed. So if I
Mhm,
gotta choose just based upon this, I'm choosing disappointed because that
mhm.
means if I think into the disappointment appointment, that means that I had a goal for myself that I didn't achieve or something I was supposed to do that I for whatever reason did not do. And now, based upon the thoughts that I have there, I can kind of create the mindset to where I do not disappoint myself in that arena again.
So I like these questions because then we get to create our own narrative behind the disappointment or the sore. So me, I want to be sore all week. So the way I'm looking at it is I want to be sore all week because I exercised, right? Versus disappointed in myself because I didn't exercise. You know what I'm saying? So definitely comes down to your your thoughts about the context and how you see this. So I like that ours are different. I like that our perspective and our thought process are different on this. Um, be known as tough, would you rather, or wise?
Wise.
Easy. That's an easy one all day long. Now, back in the day, I wanted to be tough.
That's
Like,
because
I
you was in
don't
the
know.
army.
Huh?
That's because you was in the army.
Mm. Yep. It's true. Everybody was tough.
Right.
Yeah, but they wasn't. Delay the pain or dive in now.
Dive in now.
Michael Phelps, brother. Let's go all day. Um, it was a good one too, man. I like those. I like that we went a little bit deeper in those too.
Yeah.
Do you think that do you think that pain has changed your has do you think that pain has changed your identity?
I wouldn't say it has changed my identity. Um, I think it refined it.
Mm.
I think because we can kid ourselves a lot and say that I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, and I'm that. And then you realize, because I kind of gave the process on Friday night, to where you have a concept, and then that concept drives your identity, then that identity drives your esteem, and then that esteem is how you express yourself to the world. So in essence, what you're expressing to the world comes from the seat of who you are or who you believe yourself to be. But then, regardless of whatever lie you tell yourself, the world has to show up to challenge it. So when the world shows up and you experience the pain from your perspective of who you are versus the reality of who you are, then at some point you're going to have to recognize, like, well, something's going to have to yield. I'm going to have to come to a heightened sense of awareness. So pain at that point now refines the identity, because I look at it from the perspective of, well, I think I'm the external being, but then I later realize that I'm the internal being that's actually driving the external car that everybody see. So this is not the depiction of who I really am. This is just the image that you actually see. But who I really am is the being that's on the inside of this. So when you confuse this with what's on the inside, then you're missing something huge. And then at that point we solicit the pain that we go through.
As you I think I got a prequel to what you're saying.
Hmm.
What I mean by that is I think it's earlier in my life, I would have said, and I still think right now as I'm thinking about it, that pain did change my identity. I think there were some things that I went through that actually changed who I was. Even I think even all of those, even my divorce changed my identity, changed who I was. Because I don't know. So this is why I'm thinking it's the prequel, but I want you to kind of want to know if it's this or that. I don't know. So I think at some point it did change my identity, but I don't know if my identity changed because of the pain that I went through or the lessons learned from the pain. Because I had a certain identity while I was married the first time, that this is how I'm supposed to be, you know, put her on the pedestal, all of that crap that we learned back in the 90s from all that R&B music that we listen to is the stuff that I did and stuff that I thought was going, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I thought that that's who I was. So when I got divorced and I started learning about who I was as a man and stuff, I'm like, brother, that ain't the same person. I no longer identify as the same type of man I was before I got divorced, because I've learned so much more about myself since I've been divorced. So, but now since then, I have more of a mindset like what you're saying. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But I think whereas now I'm just like, all of the pain that I'm going through now or that I've been through in the last few years, it has helped redefine my identity, or to just micro adjustments to make me a little bit better version of my current identity. But like I said, I think what I did before, doing the divorce, that person I was who I identified is not the same person I identify right now. What do you think about that? So is that kind of like a prequel to that, or am I like kind of way off in left base? in left field, and I really didn't change my identity and who I really am.
No, I think you explained what I just said.
Mm,
Everything you talked about was like you mentioned, like, this is what I did.
yeah.
Well, when you look at what you do, that's an expression. So you
Okay.
were expressing from the seat of what you know, right? That's what you knew, not who you
Hmm.
were.
Yep.
Let me say it again. That's what you knew, not who you were. So, in essence, when you start stripping that stuff out, all of that stuff that made you do those things, then you start putting new stuff in. But you had to
Hmm.
strip the old stuff out first. Once you strip the old stuff out, then you put the new stuff in. Now you did things differently. That is all expression. You were created to be a particular thing. A
Hmm.
lot of us don't realize what that particular thing is until a later point in time because we live a life based upon total expression. But we
Hmm.
live a life based upon total expression that comes from faulty information. So that faulty information now drives that expression. But then when you realize that, wait, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, then you're like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me this is not who I am? So all this time I was walking around worried about what these people were seeing, and that's not who you mean to tell me that I'm sitting here in my younger years, your memos, will you be my girlfriend? Check yes, check
Hmm.
no, you can check maybe.
Hmm.
You know, and if you get turned down, you think it's because they're turning down the external person because that's what you do. Everything is based upon the outside of you. But then you realize something different. There's a person on the inside that was supposed to get more clout. I'm just going to use that right now. That was supposed to get more clout than the person on the outside. Why? Because we're trained to glorify the exterior of the car as opposed to appreciating the interior of the car. Now, I like the creature comforts of driving a car. I don't really care what you see on the outside. I care about what's happening on the inside. So when I look at that, yeah, I like the I like the dual atmosphere. You control your temperature over there, leave my temperature alone. I like the heated seats and the air conditioning seats. I love that. Right. Those are creature comforts for me. I like the fact that I can flip my mirror and it goes from just a mirror to a camera and I can literally see whether that's a police car or whether that's just another Dodge Charger. So
Hmm.
those are creature comforts for me. The same thing exists in me. We get comfortable looking at this as the creature comfort. Why? So now, when because that's how I think, I want this to be the biggest and the strongest and the fastest and the sleekest that's not even who you are. That's all
Yeah.
that stuff is fleeting. So now, because that's not who I am, that's not the seat of my understanding of who I am. Therefore, I don't need to express this to you. I don't need to express what these have done over the years to you. I just need to connect with you. And if I connect with you, I connect from from the internal being, not the external being.
Mm. Yeah, I like the creature comforts. You know what I mean? My car is 17. I got the heated seats,
Yeah,
the
man.
cool seats, all the heated steering wheel. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Give me the lickies and chewies on the inside. I
With
don't.
you, bro. I used to when I was younger, I used to be
Mm,
outside washing and armor alling and waxing and all that other
mm,
great stuff because I was concerned of how it looked on the eye. Because
yeah,
when I was riding back then, I was like,
yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That was then. But then I realized I might wash my truck like maybe once a month now. You know what I'm saying? Not that I like riding around in a dirty truck. I don't
Hmm.
care what you see when you look at the truck, but I
Hmm.
care how you ride when you get in the truck.
Yeah, that
See that?
part.
See, I think somebody just seen something just now when in this
Hmm.
conversation right here. Stop being so concerned about what people see on the outside. Stop
Hmm.
trying to show yourself to be approved by what you do on the outside. Work on the
Hmm.
inside of you. The inside of you is the part that needs cleaning.
Where that button? I can't get there fast enough. Where is
Oh,
my
yeah, man.
button, folks? Where is my button? Where is it at? The inside, bro. Clean out the inside of your car. Moving right along, folks, to the next question. For Coach get in trouble, I'm trying to save the show. You hurt somebody's feelings, they ain't gonna come back next week. Look, come back next week, even if your feelings were hurt. It's okay. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. This is another question. What role does faith play in how you handle pain?
Every role. It plays every role. I kind of gave an example previously when we was talking about the physical pain versus the mental pain.
Yep.
Right? That's the perfect example. When you understand what faith in essence is your ability to focus on a future that is desirable, a future that was promised to you. If you have the ability to keep your mind fixed on the future, then you're not necessarily keeping your eyesight on the pain. You may feel the pain, but your focus is still in the future. So when you ask what role, it is the role. There is no other role to play.
I agree with Coach. And to add on, it's just like this. Like when my stomach started hurting for a little bit, I'm just like, dang man, this sucks. But I don't worry about it. I just matter of fact, when was it? A couple of weeks ago. I think I was we on vacation. Something I don't know. Something happened, and my stomach was hurting, and I was I was bad, man. I was sweating and everything. And Shell said something to me, and I'm like, she's like, "What you gonna do?" I'm like, "Just gonna push through it." You know what I mean? It's like because I knew on the other side of that, I knew eventually I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I just knew that I'm going to be healed on the other side of that. So there's no
Mhm.
need in sitting here worrying about is sit down, buckle up, and let's just get through it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's just what happens. And a lot of times, especially with mental stuff, you know what I mean? We break up with somebody, we lose our job, we somebody decide that they don't like us no more, and we forget all about the faith and everything that we had when we applied for the job. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's going to be okay. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It is your like you said that light as a tunnel letting you know that things are going to work out and that things are going to be okay and that you're going to be able to get through that pain. You
Yeah.
know, so that's to what you're saying. It's all of that. You know what I mean? So I don't know how you kind of handle pain without it. So
I will add this piece to it, and I see what time it is. So I know we got to keep moving forward.
mhm,
A lot of times we want to pay attention to the pain, right? And we end up taking our eyes off of the promise. We're supposed to keep our eyes on the promise. Whatever is happening in the pain, I don't want to give the impression that how you're feeling is immaterial. But like I always tend to say, how you're feeling is for you. When I do the proper analysis in that particular moment, how I'm feeling is trying to teach me a lesson that I am rejecting. That's why I'm feeling that way. And the longer I reject it, the longer I feel that way. So when I stop rejecting it and listen to the lesson that my pain is trying to teach me in that moment, then I become the person that can actually achieve the promise in the end.
did you say pain is for me?
Pain is for me.
Ugh. Yeah, it's people ain't some people ain't come back next week, bro. They hear this stuff.
Think about it, man.
Step
It doesn't matter.
stepping on toes, brother.
It doesn't matter what we talk about. If I go
Yeah.
to the gym and work out and lift heavy weight,
Mhm.
that pain is for me.
Pain
Like
is
I
for
told you
me.
when I was a gym rat, I felt that if I did not feel, if I wasn't sore the next day, that was information that told me I did not do enough the day prior to in the gym. So now I'm gonna go harder in the paint when I go to the gym. That's what pain talked to me about. So
Mhm.
now moving forward, it doesn't matter where you go, pain speaks to you and it's trying to teach you a lesson about you. So the question is, can I get out of my own can I get out of my own self-perceived greatness just long enough to hear the lesson that pain is trying to teach me in that moment so that I can become the one to inherit the promise?
My own self-perceived greatness.
That's all it is.
Bruh, somebody ain't got no toes right now. You stepping all on toes today. I like toe stepping topics.
But
Because they're reminders sometimes. All right, you know what? I ain't perfect. I got some things. I got some minor adjustments and stuff like that that I need to work on. To we're all constantly growing. So I
sure,
take some toes. I hope you stepping on some toes.
only if only if you allow it to move you off your spot.
Yeah, that part. Ladies and gentlemen, fact or myth? We about to wrap up over here.
If
We go the first one. Myth. Pain always means stop.
definitely a myth.
Myth all day. I think at times it means stop. You said,
Unless you're the mindset coach, they agree to do a marathon.
there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Stop.
2 miles.
I'm stopping.
Stopping at 2. Pain builds character.
Fact.
Fact. Fact, fact, fact.
I literally just said that.
Yep. All day long. All
Yeah.
day long. Pain tolerance is genetic.
No, myth.
I would say myth to that. You can go stronger through emotional pain.
I would say it's a fact. I think you can grow stronger through any kind of pain.
I agree. Emotional or physical. All pain should be avoided.
Definite myth.
Myth. Myth. But see, I agree that this is definitely 100% a myth. What I don't agree with is when you see it broadcast, I'm gonna step on some parents' toes. I think there are some parents out there who always are trying to shelter and keep their children from going through any pain. They trying to put their child almost in a box where they avoid all pain. And I think from a parental standpoint, from an educational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, that is, you can do so much damage to your child. Like, they need to go through stuff. They
Right.
really need to go through stuff. And I see it all the time. And I'm just like, you are creating a monster.
You're
Yeah, let
setting
your
that
child
child
go
up
through
for
some
failure.
pain. What's that?
You're setting that child up for failure.
100%.
That child needs to develop a degree of resiliency before they leave the nest. But
Mm-hmm.
if I do not help them to develop resiliency in the home, then the world is going to teach them resiliency that number one they should have gotten at home, and the one that the world's supposed to teach them all at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
now when they go through things, it's like Chicken Little, the sky's falling.
Yep. And they don't even have to wait till they're an adult. I've seen it in 4 and 5-year-olds trying to get out the car on the first day of school. It's kids kicking straight. They do not want to leave. They ain't never been away from their mama or their dad their entire life. And
Hmm.
you trying to send that joker, put him in kindergarten on day one. It looked good. It looked good at the house. You got that picture of them with that her little nice little dress on and the Bobby socks or and some jelly shoes on or whatever the kids wear nowadays. And you get her off the car, she ain't trying to go nowhere. Kids, boys and girls all around the country, women, moms going through a whole bunch of moms going through that right now
I
because
don't
they
know.
didn't let that child
I,
go through some pain.
I don't know if it's because all of my kids are adults. When you said jelly shoes, I'm like, they still wearing jelly shoes, bro? I don't
I
know.
don't know. I just remember my sister used to wear jelly
Me
shoes and
too.
Bobby socks. So I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think they do, but they might. Here we go. The last one, man. Uh, Pain can be your teacher. Fact or
Absolutely.
myth?
Big fact.
Yeah, I agree as well. Man, that's gonna be it, man. We ain't gonna go do the final thoughts, man. I just
Can,
looked at. Go
can
ahead.
I,
What we got?
can I do one caveat?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to leave that just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, man, listen, um, pain can be your teacher. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
your teacher. Let me say it again. Pain can be your teacher, but it doesn't
Okay.
have to be your teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose to do it the way that you want to do it. And then pain is going to teach you that you were supposed to listen to the way to do it. But because you elected to do it your own way, now you got to learn the lesson that your own way has now prescribed for you, which is the pain that you're going to inherit.
I like that. I like that. Ouch. That was one of my toes. Um, that was another one of my toes. I like them. I like when I get hit. I like when my toe gets stepped on.
I, I,
They just
and
let me know about something in my life.
and what
Um,
what gets me is you hear people will say it all the time, do it your own way.
mhm,
Like, what does that mean? They don't like ask that person, what does that really mean? When you hear people say, do it your own way, what does that really mean? Like,
mhm,
if you can be more specific to tell me exactly what that means. Don't give me a generic response to a generic response. Well, that means that you don't have to follow anybody else. No, give me something with substance because that's not substance. What does it mean to do it your own way? What they're telling you to do is be creative. But if you understand the foundations of creativity, there has to be a structure before you become creative. So if
Mm.
there's a structure first, that's the only way that I know that I'm becoming creative, because I first understand the structure. So when you tell people, and this is for everybody, when you tell people do it your own way, stop telling them that. Because when you tell them that, you're telling them not to follow structure. But you must follow structure first before you can get to creativity. That's how you know it's creative.
In the midst of all the toe stepping today, coach still been dropping bombs today. He's still been dropping gold nuggets all day long.
I had
Man,
a
this
nap. I had a nap
huh?
before the show. That's what it was.
Bro, no wonder, bro. You've been on freaking fire today. I've been, man. All we ain't doing a actionable device. The actionable device is go back and watch this 2 more times. That's it. Cause this was a good one. This was a real good one. Like, yeah, this is a real good one. I wasn't expecting it to go this way. I had high expectations, but it exceeded all my expectations of this conversation. So definitely appreciate that, man. Tuesday, um, Coach's Corner. We will see y'all Friday. Hearts and Men. What else we got going on?
Reframing the image of relationship on Saturday. Uh, yeah.
And then
Uh,
Bible study on Sunday.
Bible study on Sunday. TikTok live on Sunday. I'm actually hosting then. So yeah,
Y'all go, folks. You got all the things. With that being said, man, you got anything else?
I have nothing else, bro. I'm
I
tap
don't
dry.
need it, man. I like it, man. Yeah, mic drop. Have a good night, folks. Peace out.